Hello and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossi. With me this week are my fantastic co-hosts, Johnny Storm and Benjamin Grimm. No, of course not. I should have mentioned.
Dibs on the thing.
Really? Yeah, you can be the thing. I feel bad telling Liz that she'd have to be the Invisible Woman, but the Invisible Woman is the most powerful member of the team, so it's not all bad. But her 60s appearances, yikes. Have you ever go back and read those things?
Sometimes, and they do not hold up.
Yikes! Yeah, yikes! Yikes is what just keeps coming to mind. But anyway, we're not here to talk about old comic books. We are here to talk about new video games, specifically the ones Blizzard makes. And yeah, there's a lot going on today. I don't know if you guys know this, but in about, I'd say, 10 days. Diablo 4 is going to have its server slam, so we're going to spend the entire. No, we're not. I'm kidding. It's 10.1. We could, but
we're just over a month away from Diablo 4.
Yeah, the past 2 months has been constantly being just over a month away from something, like
or less.
For all of April, it was like 10.1, 10.1, 10.1, and now as we're recording this, 10.1 is out. And it's a hefty download that messed up my computer, but good. So I don't even know how good it is yet, but I'm looking forward to getting it working to find out. But in addition to 10.1,
I will protect Elder Honeypot with my life.
Yeah.
Honeypelt, excuse me.
I don't even know what that means, but yes. And, it's one of the Furbolg.
Niflin.
Right? Oh, Niflin. Oh, yes, the mole people. Yes, we have mole people now, guys. Finally, I can imagine the D&D game I would run where I give everybody like one of these peoples, like a mole person, a panda person, a rabbit person, and you could start like a whole D&D campaign based around these guys. And you can do that actually in D&D. I think they have all of them, except maybe they don't have mole.
I'm pretty sure they do.
But regardless, 10.1 went live today. Tons of stuff to talk about there. We also have, I believe, I don't know much about it. I know there was something involving Battlegrounds for Hearthstone. Is that correct?
That is correct. Hearthstone Battlegrounds Season 4 is going live. Like they just dropped this one on us today, and it's going live on the 9th, which is next week, which is also the day that Aberrus opens in WoW.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they're just gonna cram stuff on top of us.
Everything all at once.
Yeah, it's everything everywhere all the time. Yeah. Wasn't it Everything Everywhere All at Once? Or I can't remember the name of the movie. But
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah. Seriously, Michelle Yeoh, amazing. She always has been, but she's really good now. But yeah, it's been like a cornucopia of treasures. It's like getting beaten with a cornucopia of treasures because you're like, ooh, treasures, ow! There's another big thing of treasures, ow! Oh God, never have I been so happy that this man's clubbing me with a cornucopia. Just so much stuff, man. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. So let's do our job as the people who talk about such things and talk about such. You want to cover the Diablo 4 150 hours thing first, Liz?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Because you mentioned it in work chat, so I like to try to get to those. Yeah. Because it's very easy for me to forget them because I'm looking at the email and I'm, so.
Yeah.
One of the things that got revealed in the lead up to the server slam was that they expect it to be around 150 or more hours to get to level 100 in Diablo 4. And that's when you start engaging with the Paragon system. But levels 1 through 99 are just leveling, straight up leveling. And you will be taking that much time. To give you an idea of scale, a week is 168 hours. So if you are playing this game and you decide, I'm going to level as fast as I can, I'm just going to sit here and power level, you will be at that for a week straight. I'm not saying that you won't find a way to go faster than 150 hours. I'm sure there are people who will, possibly by doing those things like no longer eating or sleeping or doing so as little as possible, which is not healthy, and I don't recommend that. And if you are coming up with novel strategies to deal with your bathroom breaks, please take a step back. It is not that important that you hit level 100 that fast.
Yeah, I mean, like even if you weren't to put that aside, like if you were to treat it like a full-time job, I think it's 8 hours a day would put it like something like 19 days.
Yeah,
two hours. If you were to play 2 hours each day, and this is not without taking a break, that's like 75 days. I I'm curious if the math holds up, like if it is actually going to be 150 hours, or until some player figures out how to drastically cut that down, because that's the other thing that might happen.
Yeah, I'm sure that some players will eventually figure that out. I know that one of the things is that this isn't even a new pronouncement exactly, although they had in the past come up with different hours at different times. But there was a group interview a while back that I know of entirely because Liz was at it, and they had said there something like 150 to 180 hours. Is that correct, Liz? Do you remember?
I am not sure. I do not recall this.
Yeah, but I looked that up, and that's so they've been predicting this amount of thing for a while. If the 180 hours like long form estimate is accurate, that's more than a week. That's like you couldn't possibly fit that into a week. Whereas if you can do it in 150 hours, you could theoretically do so. But man, I don't.
Please don't.
I
Don't be that person. Don't be the person they found at the keyboard at a cafe that did something like that with. I think it was like Diablo. Don't do that.
You literally will hurt yourself, or worse. It is not worth it. That being said, I honestly feel like this is an example of them. They're coming right out and saying, guys, this is the thing you are supposed to be doing, is playing this and getting through it. You're not supposed to be like ramming yourself through it like a torpedo. The purpose is not max level at all costs. The purpose is play through the 1 to 100 game and experience it. That we have a lot of stuff here for you. The main campaign, they said something between 35 to 45 hours to complete the main campaign the first time through. That means that you will be maybe level 50 when you finish it the first time. And then you will have another 50 levels to go through it again. So I feel like that there's an example of what they're trying to do is less like what Diablo 3 ended up having to do in order to satisfy the people playing it was they put in adventure mode. And they put in adventure mode as a completely separate mode of the game. It feels to me like in the playthrough we did in the open beta and the early access, it felt to me like they'd worked adventure mode into the game. Like it's part of the storyline game. You go to places, they have quests for you to do, you do them, there will be other quests that unfold as you do that, then there are places to go within that world, and all of it is tied together in a way that's a lot more organic than Diablo 3. Again, I love Diablo 3. I'm playing it now. I think it's a great game, but I still think that it's a more organic way to do it. I don't want to see people just trying to blaze through it. I don't think that's a good idea.
So here's my I don't think it's controversial at this point, but like my thought on games like this, the ARP genre, is that the only thing that should matter is the feedback loop of playing the game. If you get that right, the leveling doesn't matter, if that makes sense. It's the idea of having fun as you're making or playing and having fun while you're making your way through just playing the game should always be the focus. And if a game does that well, then 150, 180, 250 hours doesn't matter. Like Chaos Bane was the Warhammer version of Diablo when Pillars of Eternity and a bunch of the other ones were out, and before Diablo 2 Remastered happened, when Diablo 3 had been out for a while. And like I don't remember the leveling system of it, but I remember just having fun playing the game. Whereas Diablo, it felt like one of those things where I had to get to Diablo 3, I had to get to max level, and then I got to hang with my friends. Because that's where the game was fun for me. It wasn't like leveling mattered only to get to the end game. If they hit this right and the gameplay feedback loop is just good, it just feels fun to play the game, like PoE and like a bunch of other games in the ARPG genre that have been knocking it out of the park for years. That's just great, and I really hope that's the case. Like,
see, I actually disagree with you completely about Diablo 3 because some of the most fun I've ever had playing the game was leveling with my wife or with somebody else. Like Diablo 3 is superlative as a game where you and one or two other people go from like 1 to 70. But I think, again, it's because of what you're talking about that it is fun to do that. It's fun as a group exercise entirely because the gameplay loop is fun. And I hope that I think Diablo 4's gameplay loop is going to be a little bit better than Diablo 3's. But regardless, it's never a good idea to just play until you fall down. And Liz, you played through the open beta. How do you feel that the gameplay loop was for the characters you were playing?
I felt it was pretty good, and I may not be the right person to talk to about this in particular because I played 3 out of the 5 classes to level 25 during the previous open beta weekends, and yeah, I did think the whole experience was a lot better than leveling in Diablo 3, which it gets pretty old pretty fast. You play through the story and then it's like, okay, am I really doing this again? Do I have to do this again? Really? I have to make all of these same stupid choices. And yeah. And in Diablo 4, it feels like they've really brought in a lot of story. They're doing world telling, environmental storytelling, and they're bringing in the world of Sanctuary, and it's fun to just go and explore the world. And while you do, you're going to run into random events and little side quests that you didn't know about. You're going to run into Shrines of Lilith, which give you different buffs, and you might run into a world boss, which will kill you, or the Butcher, who will also kill you. It feels like there's just more to do out there in the world.
When that Butcher showed up and when I was in my barb at level 25, I went all out trying to kill him. I went all out, and I almost got him because he was near enough to a Shrine of Invulnerability. So I was completely invulnerable for like a solid 40 seconds. And I was like, I got him. And then it wore off. And he just one-shot me. He turned me to paste. But I think that talks to what you're talking about in that Diablo 4, you almost don't even feel like you're leveling.
Yeah, you're just playing. You're just enjoying yourself.
That's what I look for in those types of games. Like that's my goal, right? So that's a good sign.
I think in general, whichever way you look at it, it was a really interesting experience, and I'm hoping that people take the time to have the experience. Because look at it this way, based on how the last couple of Diablo games have gone, we're going to be playing this game for 10 years. You have time. You have time to get to max level. You'll do it. You will get there. You do not have to be sitting there going, what I've come up with is what I call my throne of pain. I place all of my bodily parts within this plastic. No, we're done. Todd, you're done. We're not letting you do this.
Wait, that's the plot of Castlevania 2.
It's the plot of Castlevania 2 or the Lawnmower Man, depending on. Yeah, so that's something that is happening that we should probably be aware of. Was the next thing about the Twitch drops, Liz, or is it Amazon Prime?
There are Twitch drops that have started today, and it sounds like they're a little buggy. Actually, like you're supposed to be able to get a new Hearthstone toy, and instead people are getting a mount, which is supposed to be something you get next week, I think. But regardless, you can get some cool Twitch drops this week. If you come and watch World of Warcraft on Twitch, just look for the drops enabled tag and watch whatever makes you happy. Yeah.
Oh, and the Amazon thing was a little XT, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Amazon Prime gaming members can get a little XT pet just by being a member of Amazon Prime or being a free trial member of Amazon Prime, if you prefer. And that's until almost the end of the month, I think. You can log in and grab that little guy. It just takes a few clicks. Go to Prime Gaming, look it up.
Man, I'm not going to lie.
You are done.
I've gotten so much free stuff from that.
The thing is that I already have little XT.
So do I.
Yeah, same.
I've had little XT for years, but that's not. I'm glad other people get to have it because it's been retired since 2019.
Yep.
But it's like one of my favorite pets because it actually throws the fit. It throws the fit that XT himself throws. It's like, but it's in microcosm, and I'm pretty sure it also smashes trains.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen it do it in a while, but I remember like having it because they used to. Whenever we would do the raids, I remember that somebody in the raid always had one of those trains that makes everybody dance and freak out, and so I would always have my little XT ready to go smash it.
Everybody did. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, go kill that thing so we can actually do this. But yeah, so that's really cool. Both the Twitch stuff and the little XT stuff. Well, go ahead.
One of the interesting things about the Prime Gaming is that Amazon has said they're going to have a new World of Warcraft reward every month for a year, I believe.
Yep.
So this is just the beginning of getting cool stuff from Amazon Prime.
Well, and they've been doing it for a little bit too. They've been testing it, like the paid transmog helmets were up there. I think they were the first things that they put up there. But then they became available free for it. So like I'm here for it. Like I'm I'm here for some content, especially if it's older content like this that's been retired, getting into players' hands, whether it's through Twitch drops or Amazon Prime, or Prime Gaming. Like, it's all. I am happy that people get to experience some of this stuff.
And if you like games that are not WoW, Amazon Prime Gaming has a lot of stuff, and they also give away Hearthstone rewards, usually free packs or a free Epic card, and Overwatch stuff like free skins. So it's worth taking a look, checking out. Who doesn't like free stuff?
Especially if you have Amazon Prime anyway, which, come on.
Yeah,
At
why
this
not?
point, the world is being quickly divided into Amazon and Disney anyway, so you pick a side and pick the side that'll give you video game stuff, I guess. Who knows? I don't know. But I will say this, like we mentioned earlier that patch 10.1 is out today for WoW. In 2 days, Diablo 2's latter season 4, is starting. Liz just mentioned that in 7 days, Hearthstone's Battleground Season 4 starts. And that's also when Dragonflight Season 2 is starting with the Mythic Plus dungeons, the Aberrus raid, going straight up to Mythic. There's no more holding back. It's LFR, normal, heroic, and Mythic all on the same day. There is the early part of May. We're just talking like up to like the 9th day of May is ridiculously packed. And that's leaving out stuff that we know is coming later in the month. Like on the 12th to the 14th, we know there's going to be the Diablo 4 server slam. So yeah, it's a crazy busy couple of, I don't want to say couple of weeks. It's it is by the 14th, which is like we're at this point 10 days. It's 12 days away. Yeah,
we're entering that summer season, right? Like we see this every year. It just gets super busy.
This is like something I wanted to bring up because I was thinking about it. I might have written a BT about it. I might not have. I don't remember if I actually did or just thought of it. But do you guys think we're actually going to get this entire expansion by December? Do you think that this is going to be like the whole thing? Like 5.2 is going to be the end patch? Like, because we've gotten, like, we're up 3 out of the 6 patches they mentioned for 2023.
I think we're going to get a 10.3 next year.
I'm kind of in the camp with Liz.
Like, will there be a 10.3.5? Do you think there's going to be like...
Yeah, I think we're going to do 3 major patches with 1 or 2 minor patches between each. And right now they've been doing 2 minor patches between each. I think they've been on a really good cadence here.
Yeah, I just was thinking about it. Do you guys remember Miss Pandaria, right?
No, never heard of it. Never played it. Never did anything with it. And certainly wasn't a panda for a very long time.
My point is just that it had a pretty good cadence for a while, didn't it?
It did.
Like, it was dropping content pretty well. Like I remember.
That's true. That's true.
You got the Barons patch, and there was all this stuff to do in the Barons, and I was like, I'm going to the Barons on purpose? How did you make this happen, Blizzard? And then they put out Siege of Orgrimmar, which looked like a really cool raid, and it was a really cool raid, which is good because I spent 14 months in it. And I don't want to spend 14 months in whatever the final raid of Dragonflight is. Do you think they can avoid it? Like,
I think they're trying. I think they're trying really hard to avoid it. And I do think they could spread out content like a little more than they are lately, but they're certainly trying to keep it going at a pace. So really the big question is, can they keep this pace up and still work on a new expansion? Because I think I'm having a lot of fun at Dragonflight, but everyone's always thinking about what the next big thing is, and that takes development time. So can they do both of these simultaneously? Because this has been a breakneck pace this year. Tons of content already, and it's only May. Yeah, it is less than 6 months into the year. Although thinking about the fact that it's 5 months into the year makes my head hurt. Yeah, 2024, not that far away. But I was looking at all the stuff that's in this patch, and like there's a lot of stuff that you know about, you think about. I had forgotten about fire rack assaults. I had straight up forgotten that they were happening. I was like, oh, right, fire rack assaults. And then I started looking at all the other stuff that's coming in. It's like there's some of it is like the cross-faction guild stuff isn't as extensive as I wanted it to be. Like, I was kind of hoping it was just straight up, I can now do stuff with my guildies, not, the stuff you could already do with people from another faction, you can still do with them, but now they're in your guild. So congratulations on getting to be in guild chat. But there was a lot of adjustment. Like I was looking at the druid changes, the balanced druid changes, and I was like, if I played ranged, this would interest me because they've spread out
the way it gains and spends power. It's very much it's a really extensive redesign. And they did some stuff for fire mages, and they've done some stuff for like a lot of other specs. Warriors got nothing. Like nothing. Warriors got so little. I think they nerfed a couple of warrior healing abilities, and that's it. Called it a day. But regardless, there is a ton in this patch, and I'm like, am I gonna have time to do half of this? And think about that we just got 10.0.7 with a whole new island to go to and all this new stuff, and now that stuff is no longer new stuff.
I will say that they made it the intro to the new area very quick. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to do it and to get to where you like just kind of do your daily quests and whatnot. And the intro quest for it, in my opinion, is very well done. I think one of the biggest problems I usually have with when they add stuff like this, and they seem to have learned from their past choices, is I don't like when it's a long, drawn out process to just go do the thing. And so you can kind of experience it at your own pace when they don't do that, because you can just do your intro and then come back to it.
Battle for Azeroth.
Battle for Azeroth, Shadowlands had the big problem with that too. Like, let's look at the Maw quest. Let's look at when we went to.
Let's go to the Maw today.
I don't think Robin Sparkles is singing that one.
I used to sing that every raid. We were doing what do you call it? The Sepulcher, not Sepulcher, the one before it. The
Sanctum of Domination.
Yeah, wherever we go there, I'd be like, "Let's go to the Maw today." Are we going to the Maw today? Yeah.
But it was the what was the island or the quote unquote island area that they added that he pulled in? Korthia. Like, feeling like you were making any progress there, it felt like it took several hours of like
I'll be
questing.
upfront. I didn't finish the questing to get into Korthia.
Yeah, because it was long, right?
It was really long, and then by the time I got back into the game and was trying to do it, the new one was out on the way to the actual Sanctum of the first ones, Sepulcher of the first one. So it was like, yeah, I don't have time for this, man. I got to go do all that cool stuff, the new stuff. So yeah, it was too long to get into. So I'm hopeful hearing that it's much quicker this time.
Yeah, I think I knocked it out in like a half hour and then just like got to go do the thing. And the questing was enjoyable, and I got to spend time with some of my favorite NPCs. And it was good. I think it was like hour is like the sweet spot. And I think they're learning that. So, and then I don't feel as rushed, which makes me feel happy. That's all I have to add.
Liz?
I have not really played it yet. So I'm excited for new content, but I haven't found the time yet.
Yeah, I've been on the phone all day, so that's why I didn't download things. Man, I hate being on the phone. I'm not a millennial, but my God, I think I absorbed the millennial hatred of phone calls, which is hilarious because we're doing a podcast over what is essentially a phone call. But regardless, yeah, I'm looking at this, like, just looking at the raid release schedule, like how the LFR wings open. They're still doing that with LFR wings. It will only be wing 1 that opens on the 9th.
Yeah, just wing 1. It's just they're kind of accelerating the pace by rolling out LFR up front. So anyone who doesn't do normal heroic mythic can jump in and start getting a feel for it. And I think that's a really good idea because the raid is so tied into the story of the game, and you should let everyone jump in and play it straight up. Just do it. But there are 4 wings, and they're separated by 2 weeks between each after this. So it's still going to be a while before all of LFR gets here. It's just a little faster.
Yeah, and plus you won't have to go into LFR. Like, a lot of people had to go into LFR and they were completely undergeared. And through this, at least you'll have more of a chance to get gear, like starting the first week. And as each new wing comes out, you'll have had more time to have actually worked on it. I don't. It's not really more time, but it'll be front loaded, and I think that's a good move. It's a 9 boss in raid, which I think is. That's a fair amount. I don't remember off the top of my head how many raid encounters there were in Vault of the Incarnates. I think it was like 6 or 7. Like, I can't remember. But 9 bosses is a pretty sizable raid. It's not, Ice Crown Citadel, but it's a pretty big raid.
Well, nothing is Ice Crown Citadel.
Thank God. I cannot handle. I always felt like there was one more wing in Ice Crown that I needed. Like just one more. We get up to the top, and it's like, now you have to kill this thing of 3, and this thing of 3, and this thing of 3.
Vault had 8, by the way.
Well, cool. Yeah. So see, again, 8. One of them being a council fight, which I honestly thought that was going to be my least favorite, but then I get to fight the spider lady, and I was like, oh, no. Now I found my least favorite now.
Stairs. You made me heal on stairs. Anyway.
Yeah. Healing on the stairs while ice patches are everywhere. It's making you slide around. And everybody in my raid was like, this is a warrior's dream fight. I'm like, really? Warriors love to not be able to do anything because they have to run away all the time? Because I don't remember that being something I told people I liked. But regardless, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Aberrus because it looks like the fights are going to be there's a lot more variety, and there was a fair amount of variety in Vault. Vault wasn't like this fight's the same as every other fight. There was fairly distinct fights. So.
There was a lot of variety, a lot of different areas, a lot of different subsections. It looks like Aberrus is going to have a similar feel to it. I do like the fact that they're staying with the 8 to 9 boss range. Like I'm just thinking back at some of the longer raids in the past, and like Naxxramas had 15 bosses. Siege of Orgrimmar had 14, and those felt like slogs.
So much. Yeah.
Like 9 seems like the sweet spot where or in that range, like 9 or 8, because like you can have enough variety that each of the fights feels different. It doesn't feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. But also like you feel like you're making an accomplishment, and like 9 feels obtainable. 15 feels like, why am I here? Oh God. Like I've just spent 6 months of my life in this raid. Why? Like,
yeah. And like I said, it always feels like there's always, I really always remember this when I think about big raids. It's like Ulduar. There's certain fights that feel like this is just here to make me be here longer.
Mm-hmm. And I loved Ulduar. And I still think it felt like a little bit of a slog.
Well, it's like you go through there's two when a raid has bosses that people skip every time. Like as soon as they've got enough gear that they can do so. Like there's the 2 bosses on the way to XT after you do Flame Leviathan.
Oh, I never do those ever.
Everybody skips them. Everybody always skipped them because there was no reason not to. Why are we fighting these guys? They're not in the way.
You don't have to kill them to get the door open.
No, there's no purpose to this. I'm going to leave them alone. The only reason to kill them was we need loot. We need loot to be able to do XT because it's hard. And yeah, so I am hoping that we don't get a boss like that here. I'm super interested in the blank. I can't tell you guys what I'm super. That's not. You might not have gotten to read it yet, but there's an encounter here with an old face that you will have heard of.
Yep.
And I am super interested to see how that goes because it's not quite the same. Also, I've been looking at the tier set stuff, the Crucible class armor set, according to the post here. Have you guys looked at it? What do you think of this?
Indifferent. It's there. Like, I don't really feel strongly about it one way or another.
Yeah, the Shaman one kind of looks weird to me, but the Paladin one looks nice. Not as nice as the Priest one, though. Honestly, the Priest one looks more like a Paladin set than the Paladin set, though, which is kind of odd.
The odd thing about these sets, or at least so I'm a Holy Paladin. Maybe you've heard me talking about Holy Paladins before. Is that the set for Holy Paladins, the bonus affects a specific skill. So it's kind of pushing you, like if you don't have this specific spec, then your 4-piece set bonus is going to do nothing, literally, absolutely nothing. So, I mean, that feels kind of bad, but also I already have that talent. I'm spec'd into it, so maybe I'm just being too picky. Like it's there, but it's like, okay, you have to use this thing now, and it's not a normal rotational thing, but it's like, okay, you've got to spec down this part of the talent tree to get one of these 2 abilities. There's a choice node, and you have to pick one or the other, and it buffs them both in different ways. Yeah, but if you don't like those talents, okay. You get nothing. You get nothing.
Well, if you don't like the talents, are you deliberately referencing UHF, by the way?
You get nothing. Yeah, no, I love UHF. Because as Liz was saying that was also in my head.
Yeah,
and I was like
that.
Because honestly, I can see the Tuskarr having a game show that's the Wheel of Fish, like 100%. Like, hold on a second, Blizzard. Why don't the Tuskarr have something that's just called the Wheel of Fish? Can we make this happen, please?
We love whey milk. What gets me is I'm looking at the set. Liz is listing all these perfectly reasonable mechanical reasons why the set design's a little wonky. I can't get over the fact that the warrior set has a big dragon head that my head goes inside, and it looks like the dragon head ate my head. Like, I can't get past this. There's like a mesh thing inside the dragon's head that clearly my face is behind the mesh, and all I can think of is how do I see anything? Like, this warrior can't see anything. And it's not like you could push this thing back. It's a giant dragon head on top of your head. So yeah, I don't know. The shaman one, those are clearly the dragons from the storm dragons from
Stormheim.
Stormheim. So I like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I don't feel strongly about it one way or another because, like, I already have dragon shoulders. I have multiple dragon shoulders. So it's like, okay, cool, more dragon shoulders. And it's like a helm that vaguely is reminiscent of tier 1 with dragon horns attached to it. Cool. Like, I don't want to like think like I'm like crashing on it or anything like that. I don't know. I expected more elemental.
In terms of the aesthetics of it, like looking at the paladin set looks an awful lot like the last set they got in Shadowlands.
A little bit.
It doesn't look that different. So, but again, that's just one of many things this patch is doing. Like there's so much. I'm trying. I do want
to actually talk about the new FXs for Mythic Plus because we haven't really talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I was actually just looking down to the season 2 thing. So yeah, absolutely. Also, can you do you mind explaining to people the decay? Because a lot of people don't understand the decay between Mythic seasons. So if you could explain that, if you don't,
I don't fully understand the decay either. So I'm not going to talk about the decay. Instead, I'll talk about the fun stuff that I do know.
Okay, then let me jump in really fast. When you are doing Mythic dungeons in season 2, the first week, if you've completed a Mythic Plus, and you got say you cleared like a 15, you cleared you cleared a 15, so you should normally get a keystone above that. They will be subtracting, if you did it untimed, they will be subtracting like 9 levels from it. So if you cleared it on 15, you will end up getting a 6 that first week because they've reset everything. And so the Mythic key you get is not going to be at the same level that it would have been if it was all within a season. You need to be aware of that. So if you go open your thing and get your Mythic key for the week, just the first week, it's going to be way reduced. It's going to go down to like a 6 or a 7 if you're clearing like above a 15. Just be aware of that.
Which is probably for the best considering what's in the new rotation and what the new effects are and I'm confident is playing into it. So right now the rotation has flipped over where it is new affixes and new rotations. You're going to get Brackenide Hollow. Sorry, go ahead, Liz. I heard you say something.
That is next week. Season 2 starts next
Season 2.
week. So.
Yep. Sorry. Season 2 will be Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Alderman, Legacy of Tyr, Neltharius, Freehold, The Underwrought, Vortex Pinnacle, and Neltharian's Lair, which is a brutal mix of dungeons, if I'm being honest. Underwrought alone almost broke me in the past.
Also, not to interrupt you, but I will also say that having commas inside the name of your dungeons and then having a list of dungeons with commas separating them makes it seem like Alderman and Legacy of Tyr are 2 separate dungeons. They're not.
No.
It's Alderman, Legacy of Tyr.
Yes.
Please, Blizzard, consider putting a dash in there or a colon or something. Because it just messes with my head. I'm like, Alderman, then Legacy of Tyr. Wait, no, it's the same place.
Alderman, dramatic pause, Legacy of Tyr. You're going to be able to get 2 new titles. You get the Smoldering or the Smoldering Hero. I want those. Dungeon teleports, and you get a new mount coloration for the Armoredon, which is a wonderful dinosaur stegodon looking thing that is straight out of Myth and Legend and vaguely dragon-esque, and I absolutely love it, and it is the best boy or girl. I don't know what it is. I'm not really looking that closely. The new affixes, there are 3 of them. There's Incorporeal, which is while in combat, incorporeal beings appear and attempt to destabilize players with spells that reduce their damage and healing done. Incorporeal beings are susceptible to all forms of crowd control. So very similar to like the sin, essences of sin, or the ghosts that haunt you. Not too dissimilar, but they have different effects that you have to watch out for now, instead of just killing you. Afflicted, which is while in combat, afflicted souls appear that seek the aid of players. Afflicted souls spawn with poison, curse, and disease afflictions. Removing any of these afflictions or restoring the soul to full health causes it to despawn. Fail to remove their afflictions in time will inflict players with a negative status effect. This is incredibly interesting to me because as a healer in Mythic Plus dungeons, there's a lot of times where you're running so efficiently with your group that you're spending more time DPSing than healing. And so having an FX that like encourages you to actively heal and have your active heal time higher than maybe your DPS time, because if you don't, there's a negative effect, I think is really, really cool, and actually starts throwing the Mythic Plus dungeon stuff. It starts changing how you view it a little bit, and I'm here for it. And then the last one is Entangling, which is while in combat, entangling vines snare players. That one's pretty straightforward. So, and then we're going to, as a result of those 3 new ones coming in, we're getting rid of some. So if you didn't like Quaking, Grievous, or Explosive, they're gone. And you know what? I'm okay. Goodbye. Bye, Grievous. Don't come back.
Explosive was not one I liked.
No, Grievous and Explosive were rough. Quaking was fine, but like I think it was most players ignored it because like you get to a point where it didn't really matter. Explosive was just rough, especially on Ruby life pools. That second boss, like trying to do that entire area with Explosive, that ring. Ugh. But yeah, I don't know. It's really, it's good. It's shaping up to like shake up the Mythic Plus dungeon season, and I'm here for it. I think it's cool. I like that healer edition. So I just talked a lot. Do either of you have opinions on that?
I won't have an opinion yet until I get to actually get in there and play any of them. Like I said, I don't mind Explosive being gone. Oof, really, really hated that. I think it's interesting that we're getting FXs at level 7 and level 14 now. And that those FXs are like the one where you have to decurse these various
Afflicted
ghostly mobs.
Yep.
Yeah. You have to decurse them or they do something to your group.
Decurse or heal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. Like it's not something they've done before. It kind of reminds me of the stuff they did in raids at the end of Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Like Liz, you remember it, right? Like
faded raids.
Faded raids. Yeah.
It's
interesting to come in and mix things up.
Yeah. So that's basically all I have to say on it until such time as I get to play.
Yeah, I'm just here for it. I'm excited. I actually really got to enjoy spending some time pushing keys and doing Mythic Plus after we had completed our head of the curve. And shout out to our guild who dealt with me figuring out how healing worked in those higher keys. But like I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun balancing like DPSing and keeping people alive and like really working at it. Like, and I'm kind of curious how this new one's going to work because I'm here for it.
Okay. I'm trying to think of like what else we should be talking about. Going back to the
cross faction guilds are alive.
Yeah, you guys have already made your feelings on that.
We have.
Clear, but if you want to talk about it,
well, we'll go over it for people who haven't been keeping up. Cross faction guilds are in fact now live, though it's pretty minor. It's pretty minor. It's a small step beyond what we already had with cross-faction gameplay. All of the same restrictions on cross-faction gameplay will be in place. You cannot queue up for content together. You cannot whisper to each other. You cannot send mail to each other. You just get guild chat. That's pretty much it. And to invite someone to a cross-faction guild, you actually have to be friends with them or be in a community with them. So you can like manually G-invite them. Instead of, you can't use standard interface to do that because they're a weird alternate faction person. But it seems to be functioning very well. It's just its abilities are pretty limited. It's pretty basic. Still cool to be in guild chat. Well, that's where all the stuff is going down. So I dig it. I just wish there was like a teensy bit more going on here.
Yeah, I look at it less as this is the cool new feature and more as this is a step towards what I hope will be happening in the future expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe?
Not enough sad.
Okay. Then we mentioned the Diablo 2 ladder season, which is starting in 2 days as we record this. Season 4 is going to be, it's not dramatically different. Like compared to some ladder seasons, it's kind of stayed. Like we've had some pretty big change in a lot of different Diablo 2 ladder seasons. I think this one just got some new rune words, if I'm not incorrect. Go ahead, Liz.
I am actually not sure how much it contains. But one of the really interesting things about it is that this makes ladder season 3 really short. They talked about having 4-month ladder seasons. And I really think this is because of Diablo 4. Because if they went with the standard 4-month ladder season for season 3, it would have been wrapping up like right when like a week before Diablo 4 launched. So people would be going in to season 4 and they wouldn't have enough time to complete it and do all the stuff they wanted. And then Diablo 4 is going to be there. So they're just going to ditch it. And if they do it this way and launch the ladder season like 2 months early, this was such a short season, and have it last for the normal amount of time, then it's not going to have that really hard overlap with Diablo 4's launch.
Like, you'll be playing it for a month, and then maybe you'll take a break.
Yeah, so we'll just see if this means, okay, is this like a planned change in the seasonal cadence for Diablo 2? Or is this just, they're like, oh, we're gonna switch the season over like right when Diablo 4 launches, and no one's gonna play our video game that we worked really hard on to make it really cool and fun. So I don't know. We'll see if they're just are they doing faster seasons, or is this a one-off? We don't know.
Yeah, and for that matter, if you're a Diablo 3 player, we still have no idea what's going on with Season 28. Like, Season 28 should be wrapping up this month. Like, it's been out for like 2 months now. Usually, you're looking at like a 16-week season at the outside. So
yeah, it's another one that I think normally it would really wrap up, about the time Diablo 4 launches, if it were one of our longer seasons, going about 4 months.
Yeah, and
we don't know. We don't know.
We know literally nothing about when. Like, for all we know, Season 28 is never going to end. They're just going to leave this as the game forever. We have no idea. I don't think they're going to do that, but I don't know what they are going to do.
Yeah, they haven't made any announcements, and they usually don't make any seasonal announcements until right at the end of the season, a few weeks early. Yeah. So,
what you'll get is a PTR.
Yeah,
that usually has the next season on it, and that's the first announcement. That's the first hint you get that, oh yeah, this one's going to end soon. And since we don't even know if there's going to be a season 29, we really don't know like how we'll find out that the season is ending, if the season is ending. So yeah, that's just something we probably should mention. I should also mention that the WoW Children's Week is happening right now. I think it started yesterday. That's what this list seems to indicate. So I'm going to assume that's true. And it's going to the 10th, which means it's
literally it's a week. It's a week.
And it's literally that whole period that we were talking about, like up to the 9th, just all this stuff happening. Children's Week is during that. So whilst you're doing all this other stuff, you also have a chance to like escort orphans around Azeroth, which, I mean, good. It's nice for you to do that. They're orphans. They've lost a lot. Keep in mind that these are the same orphans that we've had for years now. But I mean, should I want new orphans? We don't want more orphans. Couldn't we have more
grown
orphans?
Up. Yeah. They're frozen in time, which is kind of terrifying.
Like Amber. But regardless, that's happening. Children's Week is one of those ones that I remember the first time I did it, and then as it's gone through the years, I just remember when you had to go and like basically do a Call of Duty QuickTime event with Bane for Cairn's. Let's go look at Cairn's body. I'm like, do we have to do this? This is really sad. But yeah, it's you guys. I mean, we've talked before about how holidays and stuff in WoW don't change as much as we might want them to. I don't think there's anything new to add there. But if either of you have anything new to add, please do.
I do have one new thing to add, which is that they removed School of Hard Knocks from the Children's Week meta achievement. So if you've been wanting to get that title to finish the achievement for finishing all the holidays, you no longer have to do the worst achievement in the game, in which you drag an orphan around through PvP battlegrounds.
Yeah, I mean, that was awful. It was not great.
I mean, I'm sitting here going, is that really the worst one? And I'm like, you know what? I certainly can't make a case for it being good.
It's just like you get all of these people who don't want to PvP. I mean, on top of just the inherent wrongness of let's drag this orphan to this place where we all murder each other. It'll be great. There's also the thing where it pulls a bunch of people who may not enjoy PvP into PvP, and they're not enjoying this. This isn't something they want to be doing with their time, but they got to do it because they want this achievement to get this thing. And then all of the people who actually enjoy PvP have to play with all of these people who hate PvP and don't want to be here. And it makes everyone unhappy. there's nothing about this achievement that anyone enjoys.
Well, I'll say that there's the part where you get to farm people in PvP who don't know how to PvP, but then your own team is just as jam-packed with people who don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So you end up like, just the flag, just catch the flag. The flag. He's getting away with the flag. Oh God. So yeah, it's really, like I said, it may not actually be the worst, but I can't think of a good thing about it. So it's like, maybe it is.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
There's nothing about this thing that I enjoy. So yeah, sure. It's just surprising to really stop and think about. Is it this, or is it the one where like people are trying to get the flag in Eye of the Storm, and priests are just life ripping you away from it so that they can get it? I mean, there's a lot of choice in terms of these horrible PvP achievements. But yeah, School of Hard Knocks might just be the worst one. But that's pretty much everything we got written down. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we try and maybe do a couple emails?
No, I got nothing else. Liz?
Nah.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna do this quick because I don't think we got a lot of time. Amazingly, we managed to talk a lot. That's really surprising.
Weird.
If you've ever listened to the podcast, normally we're very taciturn. If you guys have a question for the show, you can use our Discord server. We've got the patron Q and Podcast Questions channel and the Q and Podcast Questions channel for non-patrons, so you can ask even if you're not a patron. We do look at the patron ones first, just because that's one of the things they get for being a patron. That and an autographed picture of me making a kissy face. If you haven't gotten that yet, please contact Dan Halloran and ask him where that is. Or you can email us at podcast@blizzardwatch.com with the subject line podcast of Blizzard Watch, so we know it's for this show. And I'm going to just read the first one.
Okay.
Because that way you guys can do the answering.
Do it.
This is one that's from Excited Soup, which is another reason I wanted to read it, because quite frankly, I would like it if my soup was a little bit more interested in what was happening. Maybe I wouldn't. Oh, God, no. No. Theoretically, new support specs are coming. The Templar spec for Paladins, Seer for Shamans, and Command for Warriors. With your developer hats on, what could these three specs look like, and how would they provide support different to each other? Or would you have a better theme for a different class to gain a support spec? Whichever one of you wants to go first, go for it.
Liz, go.
I mean, I think the really hard thing with Paladins is finding something that feels unique at this point, because right now it has three specs: Protection, Retribution, and Holy. So you got your tanky spec, your DPS spec, and your Healy spec. So you've got all of those big bases covered, and the only thing I can really think of doing is to have something that is like a hybrid of multiple specs, but with the new talent system, you already have a lot of options to kind of hybridize your build. So what if like a Templar spec did something like split your single target and AoE stuff? Like maybe a Templar is more focused on AoE abilities that are, maybe it's more, I mean, we've talked a few weeks ago, I think, about having a class or spec that was focused on buffs, being a support class. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe you could bring that into Paladins. I'm not sure if a Templar would be the right name for them, but, maybe you could have a spec that's really focused on support and blessings and all of the shields, and maybe that would actually address some of the button bloat Paladins have, because I got like a dozen spells on my bars that are like the perfect solution for a very specific situation, but most of the time I don't use them, and because I don't always use them when I need them, I forget they exist.
Yeah, Paladins are like that Swiss Army knife deal.
Yeah.
How often do you really use the corkscrew? Not very often, but when you need it, you're glad you have it.
You need it. You need it. So yeah, I was kind of at first thinking, okay, maybe you could have one that's kind of focused on AoE and one that's more focused on single target. Like maybe Retribution is all about, stabbing this one person in the eye, and maybe a Templar is more, I'm going to take down this crowd of people. And that would actually maybe make switching specs pretty easy. It's like, okay, this is an AoE fight, I'm just going to switch to this other spec. This is a single target fight, I'm going to switch to this other spec.
So I thought what the Templar was going to be following someone around and telling them how amazing they are. Oh, that enemy didn't stand a chance against you. Yes, Cormac, we get it.
Oh, yeah. I think this is a difficult question because it's already hard to have distinct things between different specs. There's so much going on in WoW. There are so many classes, so many specs. It's hard to make something that's really distinct and unique. And that would be the challenge for adding additional support specs.
Oh, you call me Joseph.
Not in trouble. I just like calling you Joseph this time.
We talk about this occasionally, and it goes in cycles. And the problem is, I don't know if we can ever provide a good answer because we're not developers. We're not the ones trying to balance the game. Now, from a completely pie in the sky, I would like to see the Seer for Shaman or something like that maybe start looking at not buffing allies, but debuffing and controlling the flow of a fight. Adding things like, and maybe there could be something there like, predictive damage avoidance or whatever, where like you see the future, a couple seconds into the future, so you can push your ally out of the way or tell them to dodge, or that's what you do instead of like actually healing them. Or, you force the way back in the olden days. And if you play WoW Classic, you'll understand this. You could actually have comparative tables for like to hit that you could not hit a certain mob until you got to a certain weapon skill or a certain like skill level with that weapon, or had a certain value of to hit. Like you could miss swings, like you weren't guaranteed to hit every time you auto attacked. Reversing that and giving something like that now to maybe the enemies that are hitting you, like maybe you give them a 2% chance to like miss an auto attack or something like that. Like I'd like to see them play around in the design space of what support actually means, instead of having it be specifically what it is today, which is make health bars go burr. So like I'd like to see a little more variety, and like I'll bring it up again too, like just rip off the Esper. Go to WildStar's like archives, look at the Espers, just the Psionic Warrior, the Psionic, like, yes, it had DPS, but it was a healing and support class that didn't necessarily have to heal to be a support class. Just rip that off. Just take that and throw that in WoW. Like, I'd be happy with it. So, but it's a complicated, like, as Liz said, it's a complicated question that is very difficult to answer in any sort of capacity other than this would be nice. So, Matt, your turn.
I want to jump in here in between you. I was thinking, I was having a conversation in guild chat earlier about how, we've got all these healers, but we don't have an emotional support healer. So maybe Paladin could get like an emotional support healer, like the Templar in Diablo 3, who follows you around saying, "Wow, you are super awesome. You were doing."
Have you ever seen an enemy like that? Oh, you laid him low.
So yeah, maybe the Templar is just someone who follows you around and cheers you on and boosts your morale.
Anthropomorphic Corgi class when?
Yes, Cormac the Corgi. But okay, I feel like Joe's already said it, but the whole thing of like I am not a game designer, it's like the game space equivalent of I'm not a lawyer, or this is not legal advice. So this is not design advice. I do not think I am a designer. I do not design stuff for World of Warcraft or any other video game. I've been thinking a lot about the thing Joe said about like pushing what support is. And one of the things that hit me in the face, besides, like actual things that have hit me in the face recently, was the original, what was the War Priest in 3rd edition 3.5 and what became the Warlord in 4th edition D&D.
Yeah.
And the Warlord was an interesting class because it was very much a class that got up in people's faces and hit them. And it wasn't a tank, but it wasn't DPS either. What it was all about was inspiration, rallying people. Essentially, if you look at the Avengers, Captain America isn't the strongest guy there. He's not the fastest guy there. He doesn't mess up the enemy like the others do. He's not the Hulk. He's not Iron Man. He's not Thor. He doesn't have the the spy stuff like the Black Widow does, and he can't shoot arrows. Well, he probably could, but he doesn't shoot arrows like Hawkeye, so he's not like long range damage. What he is the glue. He ties it all together. He doesn't tank, although he can take a hit. They've got people who do that. He inspires. He is the one who's like, we can do this. Put doubt out of your mind. Like, imagine a warrior whose whole deal was, they're trying to use crowd control on us. I switch to aura of command, or use commanding yet shout to purge doubt and weakness from my players' minds. Someone's down. I use, drill sergeant scream to get them up off the ground. You don't have time to be dead. You can die on your own time. And you basically, you'd have to go and attack things to generate rage, which you would then use to power your inspiring abilities. Like we are like, this assault from the Legion is offensive. It is a mockery of everything we stand for, and we're going to make them pay for it. And, you've buffed your party. And at the same time, maybe you debuff the enemy. Like Joe was talking about, like maybe making it so the enemy wouldn't hit. I could see the commander making it so he's like, no one's going to touch you. And like now attached to that person who's going forth is a increased chance to miss when you attack him, as long as that shout stays on. And you could play around with this. At the same time, I am aware of a lot of reasons why this might not work. And I always want to say that. I am just spitballing on a podcast. I am not sitting down and trying to make this happen. But I do think that there is room for classes that they don't do nothing. They don't do no damage or no healing, but the damage or healing that they do could be just the means by which they spread their real support value. Like, in a weird sort of way, Shamans started off like that because they had Wind Fury Totem, and they had, Earthbind Totem, and they had, what was the one that purged fear? Tremor Totem.
Tremor Totem still exists.
Yeah, I know. I just remember, like, back in the day, that's what Shaman did. They were there. They were there to heal and there to do damage, but they were also there, and to a certain degree, they were there to tank, which is something people kind of forget, that Shaman were actually tanking, at least up to level 40, and in a lot of cases at level 60, Shaman were tanking.
I tanked Karazhan.
Yeah. So there is room for a class where your purpose is, you're certainly there to help and you want to contribute damage and so forth, but it's sometimes better to make another 10 people do more damage or take less damage than it is to directly heal or add DPS. And there's ways to do it. It doesn't have to be as simple as, okay, I just buff everybody. It could be something like Thunder Strike, where you hit the boss and lightning bolts then zap out of the boss, and every time the lightning bolt hits one of your party, they gain 5% haste. Like, that'd be a really cool cooldown, which is also it's got a lot of flavor to it, because it isn't just, we get haste. It's more like, get in there and hit him, because the more you hit him, the more he'll hit you back, and now you'll get more haste. There's ways around this. So far, everything I've mentioned actually kind of feels more shaman-y than warrior, to be honest. But, hey, the shouting at dead people, that's warrior all the way. You cannot take that one away from us. The warriors should have a battle res that is just literally screaming people up. I can't go on. You get up right now, or I'm going to climb down inside you and pull things out and shove them back down in you in places they don't go. All right, I'm up. I was just bleeding to death. Don't mind me. I know. Now get in there. So yeah, that's it for me. Do we have time for another one? Or you think where that was going to be it?
I think we're it.
Yeah, because I can barely talk. So at this point, I kind of look at Joe expectantly, like my dog when she sees I have some hamburger. So,
all right, friends. Well, Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means that this podcast landing community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance at having your question answered on our podcast with a queue, and an ads-free site experience.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you to Liz for, as always, writing up pretty much everything that's going on for the next 2 weeks so that I don't have to do it, because you do it a lot better than I ever did. And thank you to all you guys for listening and being here with us, because this has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we're going to be back next week.